Hey guys, it's Elise and welcome back to My Cupcake Addiction. Today, we're getting inspired by nature. Cacti are trending everywhere. They're on par with watermelons and pineapples, so I thought, hey, let's get on this trend and we're gonna DIY our very own cactus cupcakes. All right, the things you're gonna need to make your cactus cupcakes. I have got long, thick pretzel rods. I've also got some little terracotta pots. So these guys I bought, they're about $1 each, but you can reuse them. And I've just baked regular cupcakes in regular cupcake liners and you just pop them straight in. I've also got some melted green candy melts, some little tiny flour sprinkles, or you can make your own. I've got a little bit of pink buttercream frosting and I've got that in a disposable piping bag with just a really small star piping tip. I'll leave a link to my buttercream frosting recipe down below in case you haven't made it before. I've also got some large sized pretzels and I tried to pick some that were about the same thickness as my pretzel rods. I think these ones might be Snyder's. You're gonna need a paintbrush, you're gonna need some scissors and a piece of parchment. Let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to break up one of our large pretzels. Now this guy, you kind of want this little side and this little side. I don't even know how to describe which shapes they are, so go off this. All right, I'm going to break off just the side and the other side. Then you want to grab one of your pretzel rods. Try to find a reasonably straight one, and we're going to use the whole rod. We're going to break it at the end, so we've kind of got a bit of a handle to work with. So with your pretzel pieces, you've got a slightly more kind of a curved edge and then sort of a straighter edge. It's the straighter edge that's going to go against your pretzel stick, sort of like that, but we need to trim it off a little bit. All right, I'm going to trim this side so that it's nice and flat. I'm going to use scissors for this. That's going to help us get a nice stick to the main pretzel rod. And then I'm going to trim this top guy off just a little bit at a time. Yes, I'm using scissors here. And we're just going to size it up against the pretzel. Still a little bit too curved. We can do better. Another little chunk off. Don't trim all of the curve because you kind of want a little bit of it. Something like that is looking pretty good. We're going to do that with both of those pieces. Now you just want to lay them. I like to put one a little bit higher and one a little bit lower so they're not perfectly even or it'll look a bit like a trident. And lay them down beside. If you need to, you can just sort of shave off a little bit of the sides just to get kind of a nice angle. So place them down beside. You want a really nice flush fit between the long pretzel and the little curved pretzel pieces. All right, now it's time to candy melt. So get your parchment paper at the ready, and I'm gonna get the end that's gonna go against my piece of parchment, dip it in a generous amount of candy, and then lay both of those pieces together as they're gonna form on my piece of parchment. This guy's the little bit lower one, and this guy's the little bit higher one. Don't be stingy on the candy here, guys. We need a fair bit to glue this in place. All right, you wanna let that one there completely set. So give that at least 5 minutes. You can pop it in the fridge if it's on a tray, but I wouldn't recommend moving it too much because you don't wanna break those little candy pieces off. Once your little cactus is all nice and set, we're actually gonna paint it. We're not gonna dip it. For 2 reasons. 1, because it's going to be more stable, and 2, because then we're going to get some nice texture like on a real cactus. So I'm going to dip a nice wide paintbrush, and it's kind of got like a flat bristled brush and it's pretty wide. I'm going to dip that into my candy melts, give it a little stir to make sure they're nice and fluid, and then I'm going to carefully paint over my cactus. Be really careful as you go over these 2 side pieces. They do have a tendency to break. If they do, just paint them anyway and you can reattach them and then paint over any of your mistakes after the fact. I like to do one nice kind of just a light rough coat of this, and then you can go over and give it a second coat. And I'm gonna paint all the way down the pretzel rod so that I've got just enough room to kind of hold on to. You want about that much to go into the cupcake. I'm probably gonna break it about here, but then it also has to be quite tall above the cupcake. So it needs to be about double the height of your cupcake or a little more. Perfect, that's my little first coat, but I can still see pretzel through. So that first coat will have started to set, and then I'm just gonna go and give it another coat so I can't see any pretzel poking through my little pretzel cactus. Try to take special care and attention just around these little under joins so that it kind of looks like it's flowing and you don't have like a really rigid kind of a poking outside. So you sort of smooth it off a bit. And then before it sets, I'm gonna take one little flower for my little cacti flower, and I'm going to place it just on one of my sides. Perfect. You can lay that on parchment to set, but if you lay it on parchment, you're going to get a slightly flat back. You can just paint over that a little bit later once it sets if you press for time, but I'm just gonna hold mine so that it stays perfect and round and I get that texture all the way around both the front and the back of my cactus. Will be a couple of minutes. All right, my cactus is really nice and set. Front and back, really nice and round and textured. So now I'm gonna take the cupcake out of the terracotta pot, tip it out, and I'm just gonna use a pretzel stick and I'm just gonna drive a little hole in the center of my cupcake. So I've got like a little guide hole. All right, once you've got your little guide hole, because my cupcake's just slightly shallower than my pot, and I wanna make sure that my whole thing's not too top heavy, I'm just gonna take my scissors and just kind of stab through the very bottom of my cupcake case. Carefully. That's just gonna allow the cactus to go all the way to the bottom of the pot, and it's just gonna weigh and balance everything properly. You wanna take your cactus now and you're going to size it up. So I know that I want my cactus to be about that tall off the top. So I've done, I think, a pretty good job of working out where to break it. Carefully break it. All right, you've got your little end of cactus and now you can just place it through your cupcake. I think that looks pretty good. I'm happy with the height of my cactus. Now I'm going to use my star piping tip. And I mean, you guys, you can crush up some white cookies, do a bit of frosting, make it look like an actual desert. But I wanted mine to be a bit brighter, more fun and more colorful because that's just how I roll. So then I'm just gonna take my star piping tip and my bright pink frosting and I'm just gonna pipe tiny little stars all over, kind of a little bit spiky. I want them to look, spiky and cactusy, I guess. So as I squeeze, I'm just joining onto the cupcake and then pulling up quickly so I get kind of a nice little pointed top. And you're done. We have made cactus cupcakes without having to spend $20 on these very cute but kind of expensive little cactus candles. And it's adding some salted crunchy pretzel into a delicious frosting covered cupcake. I love these guys. Cactuses are everywhere right now. Get on this trend as only MyCupcakeAddiction knows how and make yourself some cactus cupcakes today. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do for 2 new videos every week. Let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see me make next. And as always, guys, thanks very much for watching.